Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. Time is now 6:03. I now call the meeting to order. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this time we'll now look at the minutes from July 31st, 2018 meeting. Any board discussion? Any motions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion to approve the minutes from my last meeting.
A motion made by Commissioner Bailey,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lorette. All in favor? Aye. That motion carries. All right, I don't see Lieutenant Oob here this evening, so we'll go on to the director's report, the agency update. Ms. Hollis.
Thank you.
What? Green light.
Green. Thank you. Following up from last board meeting with agency updates, we were addressing physical issues as it relates to the property. We also were addressing our financial barriers, and I have a couple updates on that. As it relates to the financials, we are, and we will discuss in detail, we were released 2017, 2018 capital funding, but we had a couple of details that was left out in 2017, and in 2018 we needed to submit. 2018 budget ends next month, so we are also going to submit 2019 budget, which kicks in 2018. So we have a couple of documents here that we need to go over and a couple of resolutions that need to be addressed. As it relates to physical, we are still on the we're doing better. We have accomplished two within the last 2 months. I think our turnaround period is 30 days. So we have 2 units that we have been able to successfully update. I'm pleased with the product. We have also initiated a couple of things that's going to help us move forward with renovating the entire development. We are going to facilitate a webinar for the board to talk specifically about the RAD program, which is an acronym, and RAD stands for Resident Assistant Demonstration Program. It is a program that's national. It's not competitive, but there's a limit to the number of units that's approved on an annual basis, so that we have a chance. We've initiated the process. We're going to have a public hearing. The intent of this program is to have the tenants participate in the development process by giving their input. So for our next scheduled board meeting, an hour before that board meeting, we're going to host a tenant input hearing for the RAD program. We're also submitting a NOFA, an RFP that's going to be advertised starting tomorrow for a development partner, which is necessary. You keep looking over there. I should be looking over here instead at the board, huh? But I'm talking to my commissioners. That's right.
That's fine.
I'm talking to my commissioners. But we're going to we're going to be soliciting for a development partner. There are groups that travel across the United States and participate as development partners to facilitate the RAD program. The process is same as doing, a little bit better, but same as doing a Louisiana Housing Low Income Tax Credit process, which means we will create a development LLC. That development LLC will have a nonprofit of which the commissioners would be the same board, and of course that is for protection for the agency. And at that point, it kind of changes the structure, because we would give ourselves what's called a HAP, That's the Housing Assistance Program. Right now, what we do is we give HAPs to individuals. The individuals go out and find landlords, and we pay the landlords. Well, while we're doing the development process, we'll give ourselves a HAP, and we will be the landlords. And the unit itself will have a voucher. So it's a pretty neat program. I'm excited about you guys learning. And if we move forward,
I'd like to comment quickly. The way we found out about the RAD program is myself and Ms. Hollis were in a meeting at the local HUD office. I believe, Russell, you were there?
Yes.
right,
And
the three of us.
they suggested that it was one avenue that we needed to explore to secure additional resources and be able to bring some of our units up to standard. So,
You're right, help us with self-sufficiency and remodelize our units. The,
And we can discuss this later. I mean, y'all did get to meet with the local HUD and talk about, I mean, was this part of the discussion
yeah, so
of finding-
basically,
update from
funding.
last, yeah,
nothing is finalized, but in order to, because of the limited availability in the program, we have to initiate the process just to really move forward and get more information. So that's what we're doing at this point.
right, we're exploring. But there is still a process that we have to initiate.
But it was from their recommendation that
Correct.
this was an opportunity to get additional funding and resources.
It or the Louisiana Housing Income Tax Credit. And we're exploring both. It's just that this process requires to get more input.
It's a direction that a lot of agencies have been taking.
Yes. Fair enough. Also, operation budget for 2019, ending 2019. That budget is also a part of the packet that we'll discuss in detail. I have copies under each tab for those issues that we need to review. I'm going to ask our fee accountant to go into detail. I apologize, but I can't see it. I can't see it even with my glasses on. But we're going to go into detail on each one of those budgets. We are within our budget limits. We are administratively in the safe zone as it relates to the budget process. We discussed in the last meeting that we were over budgeting ourselves when it came to administrative costs. We've changed the structure of the organization. We've eliminated some of the positions. We let some of the contract employees go. And that saved us a lot of money.
Okay. Well, that's good, because on the last one, I kept wondering why we were considered, off budget, but the budget wasn't acceptable on the administrative side.
On the
previous
administrative.
budget.
Right.
At least we're addressing that.
Yes, we
That's
were
good.
spending more than we were receiving as it relates to the administrative budget. And we have, in the
But
proposed
even
budget.
the budget that was created prior, what I'd noticed, I thought it was, the administrative side was even higher in the previous budget, than what was
17.
allowable.
In
Yes.
17s, yeah.
Yeah.
So
That-
if you're
that
trying to
was
follow
correct.
the budget, but the budget's wrong, it's not a good start,
Well,
so.
it wasn't wrong. We were budgeting over and above what we were receiving. That was correct. So we've addressed that.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
We definitely addressed that. That would be it. I think we could move to the financials, and from that point, we could get a little bit more detailed as it relates to where we're going and what we're doing. I also included, I passed to everyone a copy of our CAP, which is the Correction Action Plan. And matter of fact, I probably should go over that before we address the financials.
Okay.
What I've submitted to you is the correction action plan that was created before I was hired. It was submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We need to get a board approval to submit back to her the revisions, slight revisions, and also update the timelines. A lot of the things that, it started with the worst areas. In those things, we've implemented a lot of checks and balances and procedures based on what the CAP says.
Ms. Hollis, do you have the corrective action plan in our package?
It's right there. I can't see, but it should be that long sheet of paper right there. And if you don't have one, here. Is it not in someone else's packet?
Is it a legal size sheet?
Yeah, I don't have any legal.
Yeah, I think it is.
You haven't passed it?
Yeah, the only legal size sheets we have are resolutions.
Pass down. Let's see if I can keep this one. Oh, I have them all, that's why. Yeah, I really do. Attached to the correction action plan is also a letter that was sent to the chair commission addressing, some priorities that was not on our cap. So, we have addressed them all as it relates to the expectations of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And I would like to talk about it. One of them was to, update the revision, which is what we're going through right now. We also addressed the audit findings, in the management recommendation letter. We had audit exceptions and findings in the last audit, and they were pertaining to civil service, staffing issues, as well as pay issues as relates to pay scale for civil service employees. That same issue was addressed by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and is part of the correction action plan that was previously submitted before my hiring. The corrective, including actions for the capital funding, number 4, that would be the detail that was omitted when 2017 capital fund budget was submitted. That is a part of this package. We have addressed that so that we can now start drawing down the money from 2017. 2018 capital fund program, we have completed that process. It's in this packet as well. The process has changed. We don't do a hard card. We do it electronically. So I've gotten access, and I'll be updating the EPIC system so that we could draw down 17 and 18, which is very important because 17 and 18 is some of the resources we're using to balance the budget. Using 17 and 18 is also going to allow us to replenish some of our reserves that were depleted for our low income component. Operation budget for 2018 is in this packet, and that is going to be submitted as soon as the board adopts the resolution to submit it. Administrative fee, and we are still working on the process to include the scores, but we are now within the budget of the administrative process. I'm sure that you guys have talked about that. What we get from HUD, we get a percentage, which is our administrative fee. If we get 150,000, then we need the budget below 150,000. But what we were doing is if we got 150, we were budgeting 200. So that was a part of the correction process. Those items I just read out was added to the correction plan that was submitted to HUD. And this letter size sheet is our corrective action plan with slight revisals based on recommendations from HUD. And what I've done that's different is I've actually added accomplished dates because we have accomplished, we have implemented, and we are working on them with our remedies and explanations. So there, I open myself up to any questions.
All right, any questions from the board?
Just a basic one. The ones where the remedies are blank, are those ones that are still,
It's a projected target date that has not arrived yet. For instance, we talk about, that's something I need to work with the commissioners on. Number 1 is improve oversight need, and it's mostly focusing on oversight of me, I would say, and the agency, the operation of the agency. I have an actual accomplishment date targeted for October 30th, and I'm thinking that we're gonna have a retreat or something where the board and I, the commissioners and I could sit down and talk about some of the processes. I need to make sure that your email is confirmed, because I have emailed to commissioners some tools I saw that would be useful in implementing benchmarks, so that you guys can have something to actually measure the progress, so that you guys can grade my progress.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one question. I want to go back to the, well, you said something about, the tenants, when y'all do the.
Participation?
Well, not the participation part, you said that you guys were gonna be moving, I'm assuming, moving the tenants when you're renovating them?
Relocation,
Yeah.
relocation will have to occur. It's going to be impossible because we're leased up at 95%. We have a total of 129 units.
So the question is, move them to where?
Well, that has to be a part of our development plan. And it's a part of the development plan. For instance, if we can't find anywhere to move them, if we have 10 units that's vacant, then that 10 unit would become a 10-unit rotation, which means we would do 10 units at a time and move them around within a development. We are hoping in our plan that we could develop a relocation process where we partner with an organization, an entity, an apartment complex owner. You know, the moment we start to do the renovation and we move, relocation becomes our problem. So if we move a family temporarily out of any of our developments, we have to pay the cost. And that will be a part of the redevelopment budget within the RAD program. So there's work to be done there.
Do you have something in your program where it's like, once the tenants have been at these properties for so long, you have a graduation system or something that where, okay, they've been in here 8 years. Is there something where they can graduate out of these apartments, out of housing, into their own
Well,
Section 8 or something?
the intent of all public housing and assistance is that it's transitional.
Right.
That's the intent of it. The process itself has built in it resident self-sufficiency opportunities, but it has to be initiated. Unfortunately, we have not, but it is a part of our plan to initiate it. On August 17th and August 18th, we did a tour where I did a meet and greet with all of the tenants. I went to each development and I invited a resident council, which we have to organize here. I invited a resident council from out of the city of New Orleans, formerly known as Gus High Rise. Gus High Rise was probably one of the worst public housing developments in the city of New Orleans. If the city of New Orleans was murder capital, 90% came out of the Gus High Rise. And today it's known as the Gus, it's called Gus Homes. And it's called Gus Homes because it's been 100% renovated, and it is organized, and it is ran. The management is the resident council, and that's because Hanno initiated and implemented a ROS, a resident self-sufficiency program. That's our responsibility, not to manage it, but to organize it and make sure that they have the resources and provide the training. So we don't have that in place. And the question that you're asking, there is opportunity for it, but we have to initiate it, and it is something that we're working on.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? What else did you have in your director's report that you needed to share?
That was a lot.
Okay.
That was a lot. That
Well,
was a lot of work.
I know you've been doing a lot of stuff, so I just want to make sure that we cover anything that you need to bring to the board.
The notices, let me make sure that I state, the notices that we do have some notices, I didn't talk about that. We have resolutions and notices that are going out. We're doing a notice for a fee council. Right now, we're on a month-to-month basis because the RFP, and when the contract expired this year, RFP did not go out. So we kind of on a gray as it relates to the procurement process, but we have no choice. We're on a month-to-month with our fee council, with our fee accountant. The internal management that I talked about that we are targeting for the 3rd, there are some things that we have done in-house. We were not utilizing the internal system that the Department of Housing and Urban Development had set up for us. We have what's called 10 mass. We pay a lot of money. We pay a lot of money to have that system and the maintenance in place, but we weren't using the modules. And we've activated those modules. They're going to be uploaded and implemented in our system. Should have been done, but 10 mass has been acquired by another company. Once that occurs, then I'm going to work with our fee accountant. Thank you, Russell. He's been such a help. I'm going to work with Russell, and we're going to populate our financials in 10 mass, which means we will have our own accounting system that Russell will have access to, but we'll have access to. We are also going to implement the management component of 10 mass, which allows us to share. 10 mass doesn't use a server. We're still using servers. 10 mass doesn't use a server. It uses the cloud like the rest of the world does. So once we implement that process, then the commissioners, you guys will have access, and we'll have shared folders. And we'll be able to really participate in paper management, because this thing I was working to get out to you guys, I'll just be able to drop it in your folder, and you could see it. But you can also monitor what we're doing. There's checks and balances. So those things are being implemented as well. But the measurements and the benchmarks, those tools, you guys are still going to have to develop that.
Okay, great. All right, so at this time, we're going to move on to financials. Let's see here. Looks like
They're
the first.
tabbed in pink. Section 8.
All right.
I want to say we have a new administrative assistant, and she put this whole packet together by herself for the first time. She did an awesome job. I want to give her some credit for that.
The financials are back here. Did we skip over the resolutions and go on to the
Well-
financials? Are we coming back to this?
Some of the resolutions will be impacted.
The resolutions
by financials and
should be after the board review of financials.
Okay,
So,
gotcha. Fair enough. No worries.
He's reading from heart. We changed that intentionally because you have to give me approval on some of those budgets.
Oh, so it's
I wanted you guys to see them before you did the resolutions.
gotcha.
okay. So you're wanting resolutions before the financials?
I want financials
Financials
and the
first.
budgets first, because you're gonna have to pass resolutions on them. So
Right.
you're doing it right.
Okay.
So on the agenda, it's supposed to be.
It should
Should
be.
have been resolutions first.
Huh?
Should have been resolutions, right?
Financials first.
Financials should be first, and then we approve the resolutions.
All right.
Based on the review of the financials.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're all on the same page. All right, so, right now, we're looking at, the Section 8 Statement of Net Position. At this time, Russell, if you want to kind of go over this,
Okay,
where we're at.
I'm just going to touch on some brief points because it's a lot of information here. Cash and bank, we actually have 6547. That's reconciled. We have some outstanding checks that haven't cleared yet, and that's included in the packet. Another thing to point out is, as you go down, you can see where last month, we actually, the Section 8 program had a receivable from the low rent for some expenses that were incurred on their behalf. Since then, we've paid low rent back, and it's the opposite way, okay? I'm sorry, we paid Section 8 back, and it's the opposite way. what happens is we have checks that are written out of one account, mainly payroll checks and payroll taxes. We're showing on this month for July that Section 8 owes low rent. They're reimbursing low rent, about $4,600 for that. Okay?
When did that change occur? Was that in May that you did that? Because I'm looking at June's,
In
and it
June,
was
we actually.
0, but I recall in May it was significantly higher.
In
So
June.
that's good.
Yeah, in June, we actually had a receivable of $17,155. So we paid it back,
Gotcha.
okay, then,
You're right.
so we're really
Yep.
on the right road.
Yep, that's good to see.
Yes. The next thing I'd like to go to, if you go to the third page, and I have broken out unrestricted net position and restricted net position. Do you see that page? That's the one that has, it's not it's a detailed one. Okay.
The statement of revenues and expenses,
Yes.
supplementary information?
Yes.
Section 8.
Yes, Section 8. The first page in the package shows like just a general snapshot of the whole program, but it's really, I break it out separately to cover the administrative expenses and then the HAP expenses. So that's what we're going to kind of look at first. We're actually, if you go, starting from the top there, and I'm not going to go through everyone, but looking at, and I'm basically going to look at the 10 months, we received about $141,153 in admin fee revenues. And I know I know Mr. Luttrell, we had a conversation a while back about how that's computed. And basically, they take the total number of leases as of the first of the month, okay? And they give us an admin fee based on those numbers for a year. And like, for instance, we're showing for 2018, the way we're moving now, we're going to have about 3,200 leased, and the admin fee rate for 18 is $70.16. So that totals, and that's just an estimate now of what we're going to get for 18, about $226,616. And the issue a lot of times is that we don't get the full amount. We only get a prorated amount based on what HUD or what Congress has allocated. So to date, we're at 76%. That doesn't mean that we're going to stay at that. It might go up in years. It's going up to, 90%. So it's all based upon how much money is available in the budget.
Yeah, and maybe we, as we talk about key indicators that, as we go into the next year, we want to watch and oversight. We look at indices here, so instead of just looking at actual dollars, it's maybe $1 per unit. So we can see the correlation of revenues and expense versus the budget, and
actually,
really pinpoint, okay, this one's out of whack. Like, right now, I'm looking at $227,000 in a 12-month budget. And if you're running $15,000 a month, you're going to be well short of that budget. So what's the driver of that? Is it the per unit reimbursement, or is it the actual units down? And we'll be able to see that monthly
Yes.
as an indicator, as opposed to just lump sum dollars that really doesn't,
Well, and actually.
that's the end all is the dollars, but at least you have early indicators on which direction you're going and what you need to correct on.
Right. Now, part of the packet, I believe, Ms. Hollis put in a breakdown on a monthly basis, the called a lease-up schedule. And that is a detail of, and I'm not quite sure where it is, but it's a detail on a monthly basis of what our income or revenue and expenses are for the restricted net position and unrestricted net position. So that kind of gives you an indicator because, like, for instance, for the month of July, the cost per unit leased is $600.51. But in June, it's $563.32. In May, it's $533. So you could kind of see the correlation there. We need to try to keep our
Is that-
cost per unit.
Is that,
It's a spreadsheet that's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see, is that the VMS?
The VMS spreadsheet, yeah,
yeah.
on monthly B. And I think,
I mean, so when we start out in October,
Mhm.
and we look at the first month, we're gonna be able to start to see, okay, our budget is
Correct.
based on, whatever cost per unit,
right,
and our operating expenses have to be on that same level. I mean, you're gonna know straight up, first month, hey, you're off.
Correct.
Even if
Right.
you budgeted one way and expect one way, you still gotta live within your means.
exactly.
Right.
And you can always go back to HUD and fight our way back to why, where's the revenue at, and adjust later, but you're at least not getting yourself so far behind the curve.
Correct.
And I think that would be part of the oversight that, we can discuss going forward.
Right. We actually have a projection tool that'll take us 2 years out.
Yes.
That we're going to use from here on out. I'll send you a copy of it. I'll email you a copy of the projection.
And that's
tool.
great, but, I mean, being new on this, and as we get going, I really want to watch, okay, if our new starting point is October, I mean, we got to correct what we're correcting, but we can all agree and lock in October, when we really look at these, what's wrong? And fix it in October, or start fixing it,
Right.
and really talking about the fix every month. And still, we want the global stuff
Sure,
that
yeah.
you're talking about to really get us in the right way. But, coming to these meetings and kind of looking at this, just looking at whole dollars is not going to get us there. And I know we all want to get there. So, sorry.
Okay, so moving on down, I'm just going to kind of get to the bottom line. We have spent $180,377, so we're still having a loss for the year of about $31,000, okay? Now, one thing I'm going to say about that, too, every quarter we get a fixed amount from HUD on a monthly basis, and we're about 6 months behind as far as them actually catching up with what our projected lease-up rate is and what our actual lease-up amount is. So, there are times when we'll get additional funds. They'll do a year-to-date reconciliation to see, what is actual lease-up based on the cost per, the admin fee and the proration, which is adjusted, and then they'll back out what was sent to us, and then, we'll get an additional amount. Like, I think in May, we got, or June, we got like $12,000 or something. Like, I don't know exactly, I have to look it up if you want, but that does help, so we'll get a final one in September, and by the time we close out the year and get the audits, so we'll have a really good figure of what we actually earned.
Last question and point, and it's on that, what I was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this income statement here.
Mm-hmm.
If we had this exact same one in the same format, but have at the top number of units,
Okay,
and then the cost per unit, line
Okay.
item. Because, I mean, I don't want it all on one, because then it's gonna be microscopic and nobody can see it.
Sure.
I mean, just as simple as this looks, it's the same thing,
okay.
that translates that, because that'll be more meaningful to us.
On the second page, actually, I have like a little breakout of restricting that position. I could go ahead and add it down there. Would that be okay? Because that's where the HAP is.
What's that?
The second page, that has a restricted net position.
Yeah, but I want, like, administrative fee, first
Oh,
line,
Okay,
okay, at the top, say it's 10 units, so
Okay.
it'd be 12,823 divided by 10.
okay,
Because then our budget for that month might have been based on 12
okay,
units, and then we can look at it and say, well, what's off? Is it the units are off, or is it the how much revenue we're getting per unit, and we'll know instantly something's off.
Okay.
Simple, I mean, just same format. I'm not trying to make it complicated, just exact same format. It's just at the top, you have the total number of units for each column. And then just divide the total dollars by that unit, and it'll be a unit per cost. So it'll be an expense per unit, and it'll be a revenue per unit.
Okay.
I mean,
Not for
it's either
each-
gonna be utilization, how many units you have out there, or how much revenue you're getting per unit, in the same thing. Because example, you got a budget of 253,000, and you run it at 180, and you got 2 months left, and you might say, hey, I'm good, I'm under 253,000.
Yeah, but look,
Look where it's taken us.
yeah,
So, sorry, I'll stop.
okay.
All right,
This is good,
No,
good for me.
but in order to make sure I have exactly, I'll, if you don't mind, call you to make sure.
Sure, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay. Okay, restricted, the next page, restricted net position. Those are restricted funds for housing assistance payments received and what's paid out. For the 10 months, we received $1,442,563, and we recovered some fraud recovery, about $600. So the total is 1,443,171, and we have spent for the 10 months 1,538,206. So we're showing that we have a deficit of 95,034. But if you go back to the right underneath that, the same column, restricted net position, we started the year with 100,165 in reserve. Okay, so after you break out, if you subtracted 95 that we spent, we still have in reserve 5130. And also, as of June, I don't have the July figures, but as of June, HUD is holding on our behalf $652,967 in HAP revenue. That's called cash. So we can have, if we lease up more than what we're getting, and it, we'll have the 352 plus the 5,130 to carry over to the end of the year. And it's something that they call cash management. They want to hold the funds instead of us. At one time, we were holding the funds. Now they're holding the funds. Okay. Any questions on, and I know
What is, when they hold the funds, what is it called?
it's called cash management.
And we don't have, do we have that listed in here?
No,
how much
that's
they're
not on the
holding?
financials. It's not a part of the financial statement. That's why she sends me a spreadsheet and I review it with her, the financial analyst in HUD.
It's not our low rent units, it's the Section 8 units, it's
Section,
actually
yeah.
vouchers. So it's vouchers, we have, I think, 112, we have 112 vouchers that have not been issued. We have some internal issues that we're addressing so that we could have those vouchers issued, but even after we have them issued, we need to recruit landlords that's willing to accept those vouchers. So it's not like real money in the bank until we actually have a family that leases a unit.
and when the voucher issued, then it's out.
That is correct. That is correct.
So how do you get the landlords to know that this is available?
Well, we advertise. We don't advertise for, say, I mean, like in a newspaper, but we do advertise, we reach out. It's not just the St. Charles Parish issue. It has a lot to do with misinformation when it comes to the understanding of the Section 8 process. The Section 8 is no longer Section 8, it's housing choice vouchers. That voucher can actually be used to purchase a home. But we need to launch some type of educational process to train. I've been talking to Commissioner Jay, and we've been talking about working with realtors and also potentially doing continuous education training so that the realtors, who are a link between a property owner and our tenants, can market the program. This is our working class. This is the working population that we serve.
this is a good thing because even the realtors are the home buyer or the renter or the landlord, you know, they trust the realtor.
That is correct.
And the realtors, a lot of them advise against it. And we need to get the realtors up to speed to work on our side and educate them on the benefits of the program because they see the negative stories and they run with it. That's what's being used out there in the public.
And
So
we
it's
deposit.
really, it's an education thing.
Yeah,
It's a great
it
program
is.
for an owner, landlord.
There's a lot of misinformation about the program. You know, you hear stories all the time about Section 8, and what we're dealing with now is Housing Choice Voucher Program. And the Housing Choice Program, like Ms. Hollis said, can be used not only for rent, but also to count towards income for the purchase to buy a home. And so what I've been communicating with various people about over the last 45 to 60 days is developing a continuing ed program that would be recognized by the Real Estate Commission to offer credit to real estate professionals to have it available to teach what actually is involved in housing choice. And one thing that we come up with when you were talking with the Real Estate Commission to get this type of education program approved is that it has to benefit the public. It's really not to benefit the real estate agent, but to benefit the public. Well, how does it benefit the public? Well, if the real estate agent knows that this program can increase an otherwise person that might be ineligible to purchase a home because their income is down, and now they can purchase a home, that's a benefit to the public, because you're bringing more people into the housing market. If it means that there are people that maybe cannot buy a home, but need a place to live, and without a voucher cannot afford a place to live, but we can now bring landlords into the program because we have a better understanding of how this program works, that benefits the public, because we are supplying housing needs to an underserved population of working-class people. So I think there's some benefit there. It will take some time to develop, but, you know, for a long time, housing agencies across the United States have done workshops for landlords, and they've done workshops to the community to try and increase landlords. And yet, all across the nation, we see unused and untapped vouchers. The connection between the public and the landlords in most situations is that a lot of landlords utilize the services of real estate agents and brokers. And if we can develop a program that we teach the real estate agents and brokers how this program works and what the benefits are to their clientele, both buyers and homeowners and potential tenants and landlords, then I think that we can start getting these vouchers used up and we get our lease up rate.
Yeah, I know agents and managers are the same thing, but also property managers, because a lot of times you get investors that need to be educated on housing choice vouchers as well,
Correct.
because they can benefit too, and they listen to their property managers.
That's correct. So I think there's work to be done, but there is a solution, and it's just getting all the systems in place to accomplish that. So I think that's one avenue. Of course, we'll explore all avenues, and we'll use existing corridors that we've used in the past, but we've got to get our lease up rate up. Right.
And on that note, Mr. Lario asked me to, he wanted to know what was the increase from last year to this year for the 10 months, the difference between 10 months ended July 17 to 18 we've increased our numbers 378 vouchers. So that's pretty, and I'll, update that every month. I'll add August in there just to show you how much we've increased.
Yeah, it's like kind of the same thing he was saying. It's good to see it
Yeah,
as we go along.
as we go along, to see how we compare with lease-up numbers.
Yeah.
So that's
Or even
additional
a
funds.
supplemental to the financials.
Yes.
Of some kind of and that's part of the oversight. It's gonna be a guidance discussion of what's driving this, as opposed to looking at lump sum numbers and, everybody staring around wondering, what is it? All right.
Okay.
All right, does the board have any more questions regarding the HCVP voucher program budget at this time? All right, can we move on to
Low rent?
low rent?
Yes.
Okay, low rent program, we have in the bank 10,784. And, as I mentioned earlier, the low rent program, we have a receivable, from the Section 8 program this time instead of the other way around. And we're gonna work on getting that to where it's close to zero if possible. I'm gonna be working with, personnel about trying to get things reimbursed as they happen. I'd like to flip over, if you don't mind, to, or we could look at the second page, statement of revenues and expenses supplemental information. That's a snapshot, basically, of the detail. And really, that gives you a really good idea of where we are. As of right now, for the 10 months ending July 31st, we're showing where we have a profit of $31,204. We have, on that note, we're actually, compared to what our budget was, if you flip to the next page, that gives you some more detailed information about what we have in each one of these categories. One of the things I want to point out, and this is good news, is that our dwelling rental, we had budgeted about $355,000 or $356,000, and we collected, or we had set up as a receivable, $332,000. So, that's good news because we're collecting a lot more than what we're not collecting. We were setting up as a receivable more than what we actually anticipated for budget. So, that's a good indicator. Now, one of the things that we have, talking with Ms. Hollis, we have done a lot, and you're going to really see it more with the August financials. We've cut out some expenses that relate to like contract services. But for right now, our biggest expense that we're looking at is going to be in ordinary maintenance and operations. And that's the very next page, which gives you a breakdown on the ordinary maintenance and operations. I think based on what we have right now, it's going to show that we will be in budget, but we're not really quite sure what's going to happen for these next 2 months. Our biggest expenses for that to date is electrical and plumbing. For the 10 months ended, electrical was like $8,695, and then plumbing was $18,534 for the 10 months. We also had above that garbage and trash removal. We've since then discontinued some. There was some dumpsters that were removed that were there while they were doing some work for the units that really need to be terminated, I believe, and we got rid of those.
Yes.
Yes.
We did a lot of, we reviewed our contracts, and those
Yeah.
that were not needed, we eliminated, and we tweaked some of the others.
Yes. Let's see. Insurance is basically insurance. Flood insurance, so far, most of these figures, and that's one of the things that I want to talk with the board about, and I'm glad you're on the board now, because I have a monthly accrual amount. So I'm thinking what we might want to do starting next year, just put actual costs in there, and I'll just do my prepaids at the end of the fiscal year, because it does kind of skew the information, you know, because you don't really know exactly what was paid. But these, every month is what I do is I compute what the, looking what we had prepaid last year, and I just divide it by 12, and I have a monthly expense. But one of the things that we're going to do, I think, next year is actually show on a monthly basis what we're spending, okay? And then at the end of the year, I'll do my accruals. The next page, extraordinary maintenance, extraordinary items. That's, you know, we have spent $52,750, and we only budgeted $10,000. Doing some modernization on these properties.
I think most of it went toward plumbing issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems to be the common theme.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that a lot of these extraordinary maintenance items and plumbing and electrical, a lot of these expenses could have been covered under the capital fund program, but at the time, you know, we didn't have access to it, so we had to use our reserves to get the work done.
Do we have any questions regarding low rent from the board?
Do you not?
I know we have a lot more to address in this meeting tonight, and we're already running close to an hour.
I think that everything else is forms and more forms that needed to be executed. So we might want to pull out under the, it's in the,
Resolution.
Director's report, the 2019 operation budget. I need to get approval to submit this on tomorrow, so that we can start drawing down in October.
When you say
It's a
director's,
director's report, there's a little tab at the bottom of each pink one that's written director's tab. And if you go through it, I'll let you know what it is, because you guys are approving this. This is our 2018 annual report that needed to be filed. Underneath that is our 5-year plan. It's forms. It's
Yeah.
just stuff to read. It's our 5-year plan, and also,
okay.
all of those forms.
Is this part of a resolution that we have
It's
tonight?
not a part of a resolution, but I needed to make sure that you guys had access and saw it before I submit it.
Okay.
But underneath there is definitely going to be the, budget.
Let's see.
Yours have a tab on it, I think, that little green piece.
That's under resolutions.
Do you see it? Just keep going. Sorry about that, we should have put a separation between them.
This, I'm assuming, is the budget here.
Yes, it says St. Charles Housing Authority proposed
Yep.
annual consolidated budget.
Okay.
The last three columns.
And I want to say this budget,
It reflects what we've already seen.
it's a reflection of what we already seen. For 2019, we usually do a markup. I asked Russell not to do a markup, not to do a projection, because we're anticipating that we will start renovation. If that occurs, then we will not increase in our markup, because we would use what's available for relocation. But if it doesn't happen that way, and we do mark up, then that's just going to bring in additional revenues. So that's kind of like a buffer for us.
Okay.
The biggest issue, again, in everything that we read, has always been administrative costs. And we have changed. I'm in the process of redoing our organization chart, and I'll get a copy of that to all of the board. The other issue that we are mindful of is the extraordinary costs, which is plumbing and electrical. It's an issue for us every day. So with that being said, everything else is it's basic. You can go through line item by line item if you would
Not
like.
to
We have
overlabor
eliminated a
this,
lot
but-
of services.
What's
So
that?
electrical, plumbing, number one, and we talked about this. The hope is to go to HUD. That was my original question. Is HUD suggesting that other program to help get additional
Yeah.
funds?
So,
Yeah,
I don't want to
anything,
go back in a full circle, but
Yeah.
is that,
Yeah,
we're
no,
coming
go
back
ahead.
to the same.
okay, so yes, anything relating with the actual units it would be encompassed within the RAD program, hopefully, if we pursue that avenue. We're still dealing with some issues relating to infrastructure, and whether or not that particular infrastructure remains a part of the responsibility of the housing authority, or whether it would be a parish responsibility. We're clarifying that, and then once we get the answer to that question solidified, then we will move forward with how that's going to be budgeted. But if it becomes the housing authority issue, then it would probably be encompassed in one of these programs that we're pursuing.
Yeah, I will
I have to bring
answer.
up another question. I know he
That's a good
presented,
one.
the councilman presented 2 meetings ago about the details for the
Right.
history. Did he ever find anything?
Or the
Or
street
is
We,
that-
we did find some information. There's still a few pieces of information that are missing, and we're working on getting it. We did have a meeting with the administration. We know what we need to get, and we're
Okay.
putting it together, so.
Okay, all right.
I did want to point out one thing.
Sure.
For the low rent program, we have requested to get the full amount from Capital Fund 17 to replenish our reserves because we spent just about most of our reserves last couple of fiscal years. So the total we're requesting is $149,540. And if you look at that, it'll bring us to, on the third page, you'll have where we're actually going to have an increase, or if you want to call it a profit, of $92,800. And the other thing I want to point out for the Section 8 program is that when we looked at admin fee revenue, we actually I went back and I did a comparison and looking at what we are, basically what I talked about earlier, how much we expect to get based on actual numbers using the same admin fee proration, and that's where we came up with the $176,000. So it's really realistic, you know. And then a final thing I want to point out was the housing choice voucher column there in itself is actually it's actually for admin expenses. We're doing the administration of the program. What we're doing, though, we have to show, because it's a budget, where we are actually getting $1,873,000. You can see that at the very first line under that column. But we're actually saying on the last page that we're spending the same money. Okay, so it's showing as an in and out. But we have to show that we are budgeting for half. But the anticipation is that since it's restricted, it's not going to have any effect on the administration of the program, except for, getting admin expenses based on lease up. So with that, we're showing where we're going to have an increase, or if you want to call it a profit, of $5,900, which is, we're not going to be going in the hole.
Step in the right direction.
It's a huge step in the right direction. We've made, we've also been talking with, I've been talking with Ms. Hollis and then with HUD, and we've made, this is like the third or fourth revision of this budget. And we took under guidance what some of the points that HUD has made, and so I feel very good about the budget.
All right, any additional board discussion? All right,
Okay, so
Mr. Bailey.
are we, this is under here as a resolution.
No, that
Is that-
was, that's the corrective. Oh, you looking at the?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing resolutions in just a second.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next agenda item is resolutions. We have resolution number 18-08-28-A, authorizing approval of legal assistance for St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. Do we have any board discussion? I can read the resolution into the record.
If you want to.
Whereas at one time, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority was represented by an attorney in official activities when necessary, and whereas over the last 2 years, we have needed legal advice that was in the best interest of the Housing Authority and its Board of Commissioners, which helped save the agency time and expenses, whereas during the last 2 years have used the services of a local attorney, some of which was pro bono work, which could have cost the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority considerable funds and possibly unfair charges and penalties, whereas public housing authorities' requirements are increasing with significantly more programmatic changes and increasingly complex regulations at HUD, and whereas we have established a relationship over the past year with a local attorney that is willing to consider a fair and affordable fee arrangement, who understands housing regulations and responsibilities, including eviction and criminal trespass laws, Don Paul Landry, attorney at law. Attorney Landry is St. Charles Parish native who has worked with public agencies and St. Charles Parish citizens. He understands our tasks, challenges, and requirements. And so this resolution would authorize the executive director to meet and negotiate a fair and affordable fee arrangement for the Housing Authority with Attorney Landry. And this proposed arrangement would then be brought to the board for final approval. Have any questions or comments?
No, pass the motion to approve resolution 18-08-28-A, authorizing approval of legal assistance for St. Charles Parish Housing Authority.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bailey. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Second by Commissioner Bellick. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries.
So we just got the budget and we're approving it.
All right. Resolution number 18-08-29-B, approving the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority 2017 and 2018 capital fund budget. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is obligated by regulations to prepare an annual budget for its 2017 and 2018 capital fund program. Whereas the federal government, HUD, has appropriated. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority identified needs for these funds, as shown in the attached documentation, to support its limited resources in modifying, repairing, or constructing major parts of the systems. Therefore, St. Charles Parish Housing Board of Commissioners would approve this resolution authorizing Executive Director to accept and expend funds as outlined in the attached documents at the September 25th regular board meeting. All of these budgets were presented previously to the board. Is that correct, Russell? And what we're doing now is we're complying with HUD's request that we have a resolution saying that they were presented, so that way we can submit them and get our money. Correct? Okay. So, do we have discussion or a motion from the board?
I move to approve resolution 18-8-29-B.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Lorette,
A second.
second by Commissioner Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. What's that? Oh, is this the operating budget?
Are you on C? A, B, C?
I have the rental, the RAD program next.
RAD
RAD should be D. You should also have the, C.
Oh, okay.
RAD is C.
C, and underneath there is the operation.
All right, I have PHA Board Resolution approving operating budget.
Here,
No.
take this
We
one.
just did,
Do we?
oh, that was the capital budget.
Resolution number 18-08-28-28-C, authorizing approval to apply for the rental assistance demonstration program. Whereas the RAD program allows public housing authorities to convert public housing subsidies into a long-term project-based Section 8 rental assistance subsidy that provides a stable and predictable annual subsidy. Whereas stable and predictable revenues allow St. Charles Parish Housing Authority to apply for low-income housing tax credits and other sources of financing to fund public housing renovations. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority has determined that submitting a RAD application is financially feasible and that the financing plan is able to meet the project's indicated needs in comparison to all costs and operating expenses involved in the conversion. As stated previously, this resolution allows us to begin that process. It does not commit us to the process, but it does allow us to open up for the public hearing that's necessary to secure us a place within that program. Any board discussion?
John, the motion that we pass, resolution 18-08-28-C.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Bailey,
Second?
second by Commissioner Lorette. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right,
Another page.
All right.
Next.
oh, now I have, okay.
No, it's no, it's the one right behind it with all
It
the,
is this one?
Authority
Yeah, look, it's
2018
handwritten.
capital fund budget.
Yeah, but we,
D is handwritten.
The resolution number, yeah.
This one here?
it's out of order, okay.
You just read D.
I thought
Oh,
we
you're,
did
the
D.
missing.
No, you go
yours
from
are out of
C.
order.
So this is just certifying that we did approve the
Are you referring to E?
D.
No, D, this is the,
D
the
is.
operating budget,
is
approving
the
the operating budget, which we did
This is
that
the
already.
HUD form.
Okay,
That's their
all
form.
right, all right. So this one is D, the operating budget. Okay.
All right.
All right. Board Resolution Number 18-08-28-D. We are approving the operating budget by board resolution.
This is a HUD required form. That's why it's not written the way we normally do. But this is an attachment to the budget that's being submitted that we just went over.
But the way this should be done, we should have an actual resolution number 18-08-28-D that is attached to this as well. This is citing the resolution. This is not the resolution itself.
Are you saying the format
It's not,
should be-
it's not our traditional.
No.
Right.
What I'm saying, this is not a resolution. This right here is recognizing the fact that the board made a resolution, but we don't have a resolution to recognize. So we will have to table that for the next meeting.
Can I make a modification and request a vote by conference? It's our operation budget.
I mean, and the reason she's asking this is that we're trying to
Have
get
to
the
submit it.
operation
You
budget
gotta get it
submitted
in.
to get the money.
Right. This should have been submitted in June, and this is the money that we need to operate starting in October.
So, I mean, we know what the operating budget is at this point. We've seen it.
Yes.
So we know this is the resolution number to it. We just don't have it written in resolution form.
Right.
All right,
Do we,
so,
do we have to ask for guidance from our legal counsel?
Done, Paul?
Actually, no, that's okay, because the resolutions actually, the way that they were done before is okay, because the executive director is the secretary.
Uh-huh.
So as long as what she types up is accurate word by word,
Okay.
it's okay.
So what we need is a resolution number 18-08-28,
Dash D
-D,
to accompany this.
where the Board of Commissioners of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority and its chairman have approved the operating budget for fiscal year beginning 2019.
2018. September 18, ending October 19th.
Okay, I'm looking at a form here that says 2019.
well, our fiscal year.
It
the
ends,
2019
it ends
fiscal year.
2019, but it starts October, it starts October 18th.
It says beginning 2019.
Well, I get it, but, yeah.
Okay, so
So what's the next steps? You're asking for that? How do we approve?
we can make a motion to approve that resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we can make a motion approving that resolution for the operation budget. We're calling it the 2019 operating budget. It begins 2019,
2018.
It begins 2018,
September
Oct-
2018.
and it ends
October.
it
Okay.
begins October 2018, it ends September
Okay.
2019.
I understand that. What I'm saying is,
Modify it
we're
to say
approving
it.
the operating budget.
Oh.
It's the 2019 operating budget that we're
For physical
approving.
year in
Yeah, it's
2019.
fiscal year in
Right,
2019.
it ends in 2019.
Stating it for the record.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the operating budget for 2019, fiscal year beginning 2018. The resolution number 18-08-28-D. Do I have a second?
You missed one part. It's
Yeah,
fiscal year ending 2019 that starts in October of 2018.
That's what I
it's that
said.
fiscal year 2018.
No, I said fiscal year beginning 2018, ending. It begins, they're asking for the fiscal year beginning.
What we heard, what you said was.
Okay.
was
Do you need
different.
to press the button?
So September, the fiscal year runs from September 2018 to October of 2019.
Correct.
All right. That's the 2019 budget.
Okay.
October to September, we good.
October 1st,
We,
October 1st?
October 1st through
September 30th.
Which is fiscal year 2019.
It's the fiscal year 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
9/30/19.
all right.
that's enough. That's all you gotta say is fiscal year 2019.
Fiscal year 2019, okay. Do we have a second for Resolution 18-08-28D?
Do we have
fiscal year
a move
19?
to approve, a
2019.
motion to approve?
Yeah, he passed the motion, so I'll second.
All right.
Okay, let me explain this one. We did a capital fund 2018 and 17 combined. Both of those have been approved in this board meeting. We need to do another 2018 to attach to this. I don't understand quite why yet. Maybe Russell can explain it. But with submitting our 2019 budget, we're also submitting our 2018 capital fund budget. So I'm referring to this August 18th, 28D budget within the 2018 capital fund.
Okay, Russell?
I know that I haven't seen that. The capital fund program is a completely separate program from the low rent and housing choice voucher. So, usually what happens is you have a 5-year plan, and that's already been
Updated every year.
approved, but I don't know what HUD is evidently requiring us to.
They're
my-
requesting it because we did not submit it.
Okay.
What I believe is that we missed a deadline somewhere. We
Right.
have our 5-year plan, and because of our status as an agency, they're looking for individualized 1-year appropriations of the budget.
So that's a separate budget from.
So the board has seen this.
$240,000.
The board has seen this. This is just giving us the authorization to submit what we've already prepared.
Through the EPIC program.
Correct.
Epic, that is correct.
That's
All right. So resolution number 18-08-28-E, approving St. Charles Parish Housing Authority 2018 capital fund budget. Whereas the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is obligated by regulations to prepare an annual budget for its 2018 capital fund program. Whereas federal government HUD has appropriated, whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority identified needs for these funds as shown in the attached documentation to support its limited resources in modifying, repairing, or constructing major parts of its system. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Bellick,
Second?
second by Commissioner Lorette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Executive. Who seconded that one? Okay. All right, at this time, do we have any board discussion or motions?
Mr. Child, to pass a motion that we exit our regular meeting and enter into executive session.
All right, we have a motion made by Commissioner Bailey to move into executive session. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bellick. All in favor? Aye. All right, we'll now move into executive session. The time is 7:21.